Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and hi everyone. Today we are going to learn the next chapter in QMT181, which is chapter 3. So chapter 3, we have to cover the correlation and regression analysis. So for this video, we start with the first one, the introduction of our chapter. Okay, what are the outlines and what are the subtopic that we are going to learn in chapter 3. So first of all, these are the outline. So what are we are going to learn in chapter 3? The first one is what are the independent and dependent. So it relates with your previous chapter, which is chapter 2. So in chapter 2, you have plotting the graph. Which kind of the graph? So we have a XY plane graph. So in this chapter 3, again you have a plotting of the graph. But what kind of the graph? We have a scatter diagram. So scatter diagram for the correlation method. Okay, how to find the correlation between x and y? We have two methods. The first one, by using a scatter diagram, you need to plot a scatter diagram. The second one, you have to find the value of r. R value, which is linear correlation coefficient. So we have the formula to find the linear correlation coefficient or R value. And the third one is regression line. So regression line, or uh, we can assume that regression equation. So how to find the equation? We have to use the linear equation. Alright, so linear equation, before this you have learned y equal to mx plus c. But in this chapter, we just changes the alphabet. Instead of y equal to mx plus c, we use y equal to a plus bx. Okay, done with the finding the value of regression line. We have to find the coefficient of determination, which is r squared. So how to find the r squared? You have to square the value of your linear correlation coefficient. So first of all, in this video, we focus on the first part. What are the independent and dependent variables? Now, we have the first one, the introduction of chapter 3. If you have the positive linear relationship, okay, if you have x and y plane and it gives you a positive linear relationship. It means that one variable increase, another variable increase. So you assume, you imagine you have xy plane, right? So one variable increase, it means that your x value increase, okay? Another variable will increase. So another variable means your y-axis. So if your x increasing and y increasing, that will give you the increasing plotting. Okay, you may imagine that kind of the plotting. So if x is increasing and y increasing, it will give you the plotting of increasing value. So your graph will be positive linear relationship. For example, if sugar price increase, then your food price will be increased. What about negative linear relationship? So for example, a negative linear relationship, if one variable increase, it means that x increase, another variable decrease. So if x increase but y decrease, so it will give you like this graph, okay? That will be decreasing. So that is a negative relationship. For example here, if the energy price increase, or let's say you have the electricity cost, okay, if your electricity cost increasing, it means that it will affect your profit. So your company's profit will be decreased. More costing will affect your profit company. That is a positive linear relationship and negative linear relationship. Okay, so for our chapter 3, we are divided into two parts. The first part is correlation analysis. So what is the function of correlation analysis, or what is the meaning of correlation analysis? So correlation analysis, it means that to measure the strength of the relationship between two variables. So we have to find the strengthness of your variable x and y. Is it very strong, okay, or moderate or weak. Alright, so we have three terms here: strong, moderate, and weak. So if you have a positive, that means it will give you a strong positive linear relationship. Let's say you have a negative, a strong negative linear relationship. So it means it depends on the method. Since I have told you to find the correlation analysis, we have two methods. By using scatter diagram, the second one by using the linear correlation coefficient, which is R value. Okay, so that is the definition of correlation analysis. What is regression analysis? The second part we have regression analysis. So regression analysis is to obtain the equation that relate to variables x and y. Okay, regression are to obtain the equation. Correlation to find the strangeness between x and y. That's how the difference between the correlation and regression. Okay, so first of all, before you find the correlation analysis, before you start with the regression analysis, you need to know what is independent and dependent variables. Since we have to focus on variable x and y. So which one is independent? Is it x or y? Okay, so first of all, independent. Independent it means that they are not depend with the others. Okay, independent is not depend with the other. There is x value. Okay, so your x variable is independent variable. It means that a variable that provides the basis for estimation. So y is the estimation value. So if I give you the x value, what happened to the y? The y is dependent variable because how to get the y value? Y dependent on x value. So dependent variable is y exists. It means that y or dependent variable that is being estimated. So what we can conclude here, y value is depend on x value. Let's say you have the example of sugar price and food price. So how to estimate the food price? You have to get the value of sugar price. If sugar price are increasing, it means that your food price will be increasing. So that's why we can conclude that dependent variable is y is depend on the independent variable x. Okay, that is independent and dependent variable. So let's look at the example. How to define which one is independent and dependent variable. So the first example, we have the age of respondent and blood pressure. So these examples are given in your lecture notes. So you have to look at the lecture notes and you have to find which one is independent, which is x variable, and dependent variable is y value. So age and blood pressure. So which one is x or independent variable? So independent variable will be age and blood pressure will be dependent variable. So you cannot, of course, you cannot write x and y. So it depends on the question. If the question asks you determine the independent variable and dependent variable, so you have to write independent variable equal to age. Dependent variable equal to blood pressure. You cannot write like this: x equal to age, y equal to blood pressure. It depends on the question. Remember that. Okay. The second one, what about the second one? We have the association between income and expenditure. So which one is independent? So independent will be expenditure and dependent will be income. Alright, so sorry, the independent will be income and the expenditure will be dependent. Now, question 3, we have hours of study and statistics test score. So, hours of study will be independent, statistic test score will be dependent. And the last one, number 4, each operator and the number of unit bag produced. So, for question number 4, the independent will be the age of operator and your dependent variable will be number of unit bag produce. So that's how do you determine the independent and dependent variable, because they are very important. Before you find the correlation analysis, before you plot in the graph, you have to know what is the independent, which one is dependent, and which one is independent. Okay, so please be careful. Alright, so I think that's all for the introduction of chapter 3, which is independent and dependent variable. So we will see you for the next video to uh, to have the main point in this chapter 3, which is correlation and then also the regression. So I hope that's all for our video lesson today. So with that, thank you. Assalamualaikum.